Welcome to the Concentric Home Solution Woodworking channel. If you're new to the channel and you like this video, I would like to invite you to subscribe, hit the bell notification, leave a like and a comment. If you're a regular subscriber, as usual, I appreciate you. In this video, we will be going over some mitre gauges. One I already done a review on, and I do like it. I still like it. One is based on a product that I've used a lot around the shop, which is the Incra, and it's based around the Incra fence. And I decided to get it, based on my experience with Incra fences I've been using with MFT tables and so forth. And kind of a little bit of a spoiler. It lived up to my expectation, and it shined some flaws on this one. So hang with me. I'll see you guys on the other side. Okay, before I get started on the gauges, push them out of the way here for a second and pull this bad boy out. As most of y'all who been following this channel know, I'm gathering parts to build a MFT table into my existing outfit table / assembly table, blah, 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 blah. And this is gonna be the fence for it. You've seen the fence on my Festool MFT table, which I have explained. I'm still keeping that, but after everything is said and done, it's no longer gonna be a shop table. I'm gonna put the legs back on, and it's gonna be my little on-site powerhouse for doing crosscuts. I have a few tricks and so forth that I want to continue to add onto it and modify it to make it an even better tool for on-site work. But here is the Incra fence with their flip stops, which I happen to have a love-hate relationship with. If there's one thing, one mark I will put down on the Incra, I don't care for some of the decisions that was made with the flip stop. But anyway, I showed you this to kind of let you see why I decided to try the Incra mitre gauge. Put this out of the way. The one on my right is the Osborne 3. It's based on the Pythagorean theorem, the idea of a triangle, which a triangle is a very strong structure. Think about trusses, think about pyramids. That's a very strong structure. Theory and practice don't always align. This is a very stable platform. It's very accurate. I like it. But what this did shine on it, something I thought that was an inherent flaw of my miter slot for my table saw. I own a Shopfox table saw. The fit and finish doesn't quite match up to, let's say, Powermatic or a SawStop. So I thought maybe the little tiny discrepancies I was getting was because of the miter slot. And come to find out, through this revealing it, in that it didn't have the problem that this one had, let me know is actually a flaw in this. And I'll try to show that in B-roll. I don't think I would do any actual cutting in this video. I mainly just want to talk about the product. And in the future, we'll probably revisit it again. But anyway, here we are. As you can see, with the Incra, it's based on that same fence I just showed you. This is just a shorter version of it. And just like my miter station, I want to mention this real quick. I really like this miter gauge, but some of the choices sometimes I really don't get. It was the same issue that I had with the fences that I use for my miter station. This comes stock for, I was about to show you this. Let me go ahead and loosen this and it extends. This comes stock with hex for this part right here. So you have to use a driver. They include one, which for the money spent on a driver that it included to turn the original hex head screw to tighten this in place, I don't understand why they didn't just include this standard. It's so confusing to me because even when I got the original setup for my cut station and for my Festool MFT, I went out. I thought I was being clever. I went out and I purchased this from Peachtree Woodworking, not this, but one like it, not realizing that Incra actually offered this as an accessory that you can add to this. So when I noticed it, I purchased it this time around when I ordered the miter fence. But what puzzles me is rather than offering that, giving that driver, I'm pretty sure it came with a driver. Or even if it didn't come with a driver, why not offer it with this? This is something that I would be interfacing with a lot. Why would I want to use a tool to do that? That should be tool free. I can understand on this side, and I can understand on the, the setup parts of it, because, set it and leave it. So it's not something you will be interfacing with on a regular basis or interacting with on a regular basis. Incra, this really puzzles me. Why y'all didn't include this and on all of your fences? Why they don't come with this to start with? Anyway, let me get off of that for now. I'm not going to go too deep with this one because I already have a review on it you can look at. But I will go over the things that I feel that this is better, did better, and the stuff that this does better. And I will explain why ultimately my preference is for the Incra one, which, early on in the video, I kind of stated to you as a spoiler. This is the better one. Both of them have ways, or should I say means, of ticking up the slot in the miter slot of your table saw. Incra uses this setup where they have two plastic rings, rings, I don't know what you want to call them, washers that expands when you torque down on them to tick up the slot. The Osborne, in its miter bar, it's slotted, and there's a hex screw that you use to expand it to take up this slot. And that's the two methods that they're using, okay? With that said, turn it over. Now, center to center on the Incra is 6 inches, all the way down. You see? You go from here, that's 6, and the next one is 12, 6 inches on center. On the Osborne, you start off similarly. Go from the first to the second one is 6 inches, and both of them is 3, by the way. But the problem is, you see where the third one is at? Almost to the 16th mark. That's where the problem comes in. And I'll try to show that on the table saw so you can see what I'm talking about. What happens is, on this one, you start sliding it in, and you're almost to the blade before the back one engages. And until the back one engages, you still have a little bit of slop, which can affect your cut. That's the problem. With this being closer, just that bit of closer and that consistency, I don't have that problem, and it engages way before. I think I can, if I remember right, 6-8 inches, somewhere in that range of a workpiece I could put in there, and I'm comfortable, at least definitely 6 inches. I can, which much bigger than that, I'll be using an MFT anyway. To be honest with you, at this point, a miter gauge, I probably, maybe 3-4 inches is the deepest, is the widest stock I'll be using on my table saw. But anyway, this does that no problem, and you have solid support, and you can feel confident that you're gonna get a perfectly square cut. This one gets a little bit dicey, because before you can get full registration on all points, you almost to the blade. You know, I'll show it in B-roll, and I'll try to measure it to show you guys what I'm talking about. It wasn't a big deal for me because kind of like with this, my idea was the thinnest or the least wide boards will be the miter gauge. Up to about 12 inches will be on my Capex. Wider than that will be on my MFT. That was my workflow. So it wasn't a big deal. And it still isn't really a big deal. But I'm just telling you that for an individual that want the maximum amount of depth with the maximum amount of accuracy on a table saw like mine's, a cabinet saw, this one will be more preferable because of the system that they're using. Now, a plus for this one over the Incra is the calibration. I love the calibration system on this. It's very easy. This uses some type of concentric nut, and you use a hex, and you have fine control over the tuning of it. Really like that. Very brilliant. On Incra, I do not understand the choice of using Phillips head screws to, implement the calibration of the fence. I don't understand why they didn't use hex like they use on most of their stuff. Actually, if they leave enough space, even better. I can understand the center one being a hex or whatever you want. I would even prefer the center one to be a hex. You loosen up the center one a little bit and you can pivot on that to calibrate it. But this, to lock it down, I wish it had been a hex. But it's a little bit more time consuming, is the way I will put it, or fiddly, if that means anything to you. I will put it to fine tune this as compared to this. This one, you have a whole lot more control in your fine tuning than this. What else I can tell you? As far as the gauge head, I feel more comfortable. I haven't used it in that way yet. Just talking free and loose, just based on the concept. I like this one a whole lot better. I like the idea of this one a whole lot better than the method that they use here. It uses indents. But this one, you can get down to very small increments with this as far as angles. You could also use it for calibrating the head, and these can be released and you can use it for calibrating the head to 0. So let's say after you square this, this is not 0. You can loosen these and put it to 0. And it's very interesting that they use hex on this, but they didn't use hex on this. I don't understand that choice. So both of them you can extend. The Osborne starts off with a larger fence, 24 inches. The Incra main fence starts off at a little over 18 inches, 18.25 inches. And both of them can be extended out. Osborne, I think it's this one and this one, okay. Put this on here. This is not the original. This is not the original. I did not like the original. And at some point, I would have changed this one too. I'd rather use this type because this one right now is tightened down and this could be in the way based on what I'm cutting on this, if it's a taller stock. So I like the idea of these ratcheting type heads because you can move them out of the way. But I like the touch, the textile, the texture of these rubberized nuts. I do not know why people don't use these more often. But anyway, I'll move it over to this side. So if I had something greater than 24 inches, you see, I'll see about how far it goes out. Let's see. Oh, okay. So over travel. So we're talking about 40.5 inches. So that's pretty good. Let's hold it up. There it is. Okay. On the Incra, got to be careful on the Incra because it just slips all the way out. I wish there was a way, there was a stop or something. So let me see how far out it goes. See, I don't want to go any further than that. So it looks like it's 28.25. Okay, tighten that down. At least on the measurement scale. So if I use the back one, you're looking at 31. Gives you an idea. And you can get this longer, by the way. My love-hate with this is this whole concept right here. This doesn't stay put. And you need to use it because without it, depending on what you're using, especially if you have a stock that's very, heavy or whatever it is, this without that could have some flex. So that bar is to help stabilize it. But this whole thing is jinky. I don't like it. You can see where on my Mitre station, I added, and this is a work in progress. I haven't gotten back to it yet to finalize it. So this was basically made out of solid wood. The final thing is going to be something different. But to stabilize it in such a way where I could even throw up a 2x4, 3x3, or 4x4 on this and not have it twist, this is what I came up with that made it a whole lot more robust. And I don't have to worry about it moving around. I don't have to worry about this coming loose. This comes loose very easily, and it seems to come loose on its own. I don't like the design. So that's one low point on that. The fence on this one is very stiff, no flex that I would be concerned about unless you're being real rough with it. For the average woodworking, making face frames and so forth like that, you will have no problem with this. For whatever reason, the standard singular one in this seems to be a little bit more stiffer than the Incra one. I don't know, because the Incra one it's probably because the Incra one is longer. I'm not 100% sure about that. But it doesn't seem to be any thinner. No. But it is what it is. Both of them have means of bringing the fence close up, or as close as you need it to get to the blade. There's two knobs on the back for the Osborne. And that's very easy to do that. For the Incra, here we go again. You need a tool to do it. So you gotta loosen these to move it. And it doesn't even have enough space to where I could use two of these, I don't think. I'll try, but it doesn't have enough space, so you have to use a tool to do it. I do not understand that concept personally. I don't understand that choice. But then again, it's not something, moving it in and out from the blade is not something that you do every day. So it may not be a big deal in most situations. But I like the convenience of this being toolless. And I wish that was toolless, but it's not. So that's three positions. I feel it definitely should be toolless. It should be toolless for this, for the fence extension, and it should be toolless for this. More compact, that's a pro. This is a big boy. Although the effective throw, well, I don't know if I want to say throw, the effective part of the Mitre gauge this way is the same, virtually the same. This thing is long and big because of the triangle structure that for the stability of the Mitre gauge. That's the reason why this is so much, appears to be so much bigger than the Incra. But if I measure from here to here, 10 1/4. This one is a little bit smaller. It's 9, so it's 1 1/4 inches smaller, but not that much smaller. But as I told you, because you don't get stability until it engages the final contact point in the back here, which is all the way back here. That advantage is null. Is no advantage at all. So for the Incra, I'll show you in the B-roll. This has a more effective capacity in depth of cut than this does because of that flaw. Both of them use quality material. The miter bars are steel and they're stout. No complaints there. This one, believe it or not, actually has a little bit more flex than the Incra, which is kind of interesting. When I think about it, it's really not interesting. Because effectively, this half a circle like shape is a triangle. It's just not as big of a triangle as this. Very interesting. This is effectively a triangle. This is a right triangle, and this is like an equilateral, more of an equilateral triangle. But it's a triangle nonetheless. It doesn't, the base of it is not as wide as this, but it's a triangle. You can draw a triangle easy from this point to here. It's a triangle. So it's what this boasting is not really, and it's probably more stable triangle too, because this is one flat continuous piece of steel, whereas this is just a leg, and that leg is segmented. This is not one continuous piece. There's a joint right here, so there could be play in the joint. Very interesting. That just popped in my head as I'm playing with both of them in real time. So this is effectively what this is claiming to be, but better at it without claiming it, because this is more stable, and I would illustrate that it's more stable than this. But don't get me wrong, if you purchase this, or if you want to purchase this because of price, or you want to upgrade from your, the one, anything is, I don't want to say anything, but upgrading to any one of these from the one that came with your table saw is an improvement. So this particular model, there's different versions of this for sale. This is happened to be the 1000. There's one with way more finer degree increments. As I told you before, the Osborne is easier to calibrate, but because of the choices that Incra made with the spacing on their mechanism to remove slop, this is more stable in that it doesn't move around, because all three of them engages a whole lot sooner before you get into the blade, and you get the full support, the full stability. Overall, as I already said, this one is my preference, and it's actually my new Mitre gauge. It's the Mitre gauge I will be using going forward. If price is an issue, this is a very good one. Or if your table saw is, because some table saw is a little bit deeper, I think my table saw is not as deep as a Powermatic or saw stop. I think it's a little bit shallower, it's not as deep. So in one of those deeper saws, this one, it may not be an issue. I can't speak for other ones, I don't own all of them. You have some YouTubers out there that do shootouts and so forth. That's not really my thing. I only could tell you about what I own, and that's mainly what the channel is about. I'm telling you about stuff that I own. Thanks for watching the video, and as usual, be safe in the shop. If you enjoyed this video and you would like to be notified when new content is dropped on this channel, like, subscribe, hit the bell notification, and drop a comment down below.